Thank you, Carlos. Let me now move on to Romain Murenzi from the Third World Academy of Science, who had very real-life experience in this area. Romain, you have the floor.
So I'd like to thank Peter for inviting me and also making sure that I arrive here by paying my ticket. By doing that, you are really contributing to building science capacity in the South. So I'm going just to say a few words about the experience I had from 2001 to 2009. I was a professor of physics at Clark Atlanta University in the US, chairman of the physics department. During the 90s, after the genocide in Rwanda, I decided to go to Rwanda every year to give a seminar, a class, because I knew I could not bring infrastructure or labs, but what I could do probably is give my contribution. And in 2001, I received a call from somebody from Rwanda saying that the president has requested if you would like to be a minister of education. So that was in March, and then I said yes. I said, some people died, 1 million. If I relinquish my position here and come to Rwanda, I'll have done something, some contribution. So I decided to request a leave of absence for 2 years, hoping in 2 years I'll be returning back to the US. So I ended up staying almost the whole decade in Rwanda. So I was appointed in 2001 as the first Minister of Education, Science, Technology, and Scientific Research. I didn't know what was a policy, and I have never seen a piece of legislation, a law. So when I arrived in the office, I called the staff. I said, what is a policy? What is a law? So they brought me the documents. And then you remember that during the 2000 decade, that were the education for all imperative in education. So we worked on the policy on education, policy on higher education, but also sustainability for higher education, the funding of higher education. So we put all these legislation. So by 2003, I have actually completed all the policy education and laws that were necessary to move Rwanda into the decade of education. Then I started to focus on science. Sorry. Okay. So in developed countries, government have many sources of science information and advice. Universities, research centers. We saw the presentation yesterday that were done, and very, very helpful if somebody really wants, in countries like New Zealand or the UK, etc., you have that system. But in some nations, these resources are not fully developed. So we have 81 countries globally considered to be science technology lagging countries, and we have what we call least developed countries. And in particular, Rwanda is one of them, and in the early 90s, there was a genocide. Scientific infrastructure was minimal, technology was lacking. So definitely when I arrived there were several challenges. In the aftermath of the genocide, the government decided very early that science, technology, and engineering was very, very important. So that, and the fact that the president decided to appoint a minister in charge of education, science, technology, scientific research was a testimony that science was very important. So in late 1999, the 90s, the government adopted what they call Vision 2020, as we spoke about the issue of knowledge-based economy. They want Rwanda to have a knowledge-based economy by 2020, and that's where science becomes very, very important. So the policy on science will be based on that vision. So because of the limited expertise at home, I decided to try to find some support outside of Rwanda. You have Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya have already their science council, and they were much more advanced. So I requested support from them. And then we worked with the funding agencies such as the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and our diaspora. So by 2004-05, we worked on a policy on science and technology and innovation. And then I realized that it's not about the document that you produce. You need to have really involve everybody so that they can have a buy-in. So we worked with the East Africa, with the banks, the DFID, we had all these other countries. But most importantly, I wanted to make sure that when the policy comes out, there would not only a buy-in in the country, but a buy-in in the donor community. Don't forget that Rwanda does not have funding. So 50% of the budget of Rwanda was coming from aid. So it was very important to have a buy-in, because most of the donors, they wanted to focus on primary education, elementary education. So it was very, very important. So after the policy was adopted by the cabinet, I reached out outside Rwanda and requested David King to come to Rwanda. And yeah, he came. To my appeal to come to Rwanda, he came and addressed the two chambers of parliament, and he met with the president. That was very, very important. See, the chief science advisor of the UK, there are 54 countries in Africa. You understand he will not go to every country in Africa. So you understand that having him there was very important. And also the DFID chief advisor was very important, because DFID support the development in terms of education. So how can some of the dollars for education be used directly for science and technology? That was very, very important. So that is so if a country does not have strong science sector, it will not have a strong internal advice on science issues. To build its science sector, a developing country should seek external advice. That's what we are calling now international advice. So good partnership can help a country to build independent science and technology. I'm going just to go towards the end. Sorry. The most important thing is you want to build a science policy for the country. You want the country to understand the importance of science. That's why I took all these steps and to reach the step where a document went out. But in that policy document, it was very, very clear. 4 objectives: knowledge acquisition and deepening. What kind of science in primary school, in secondary school, what kind of science for the citizen at large? Science literacy. So we went around trying to explain the importance of science, because even the population at large, the farmers, need science when they are working on the coffee beans and etc. And then what knowledge creation? What kind of research for Rwanda? So we had to what kind of research for, because there are so many other research you can do. We don't definitely need nuclear research. So what kind of research for Rwanda? And then knowledge transfer. People think that science, all those who went to school will think that science is related to the first unknown equation they had in secondary school. They will think the dissection they had in school, that was science. So science was very, very important with that. And then you have knowledge, the culture of innovation. From university, even at the citizen level, we went around trying to explain what is innovation, so that the country can buy in as a policy to understand that everybody can innovate. I'm going to finish by saying that, for example, before 2000, coffee, a kilo of coffee in Rwanda was fetching $0.5 on the market. Around 2000, USAID, a program through Michigan State University, Texas A&M, and University of Rwanda. They brought the issue of a coffee washing station. A coffee washing station, it's a very known, very low technology. But by washing the coffee, drying the coffee, selecting the beans very well, the coffee will fetch $6 per kilo on the international market. It changed dramatically the way we do business. The Rwandan coffee ended up in Costco and in Starbucks. And that's, if you look at the innovation, and I can tell you, the farmer was so happy to wash the coffee, dry it properly, and choose the bean. And that ecosystem changed dramatically. I can give some other examples. Very low level technology, but changed dramatically. So the farmer, we understand innovation is very important. At the global level also, we need to think, as we are moving into these sustainable development goals, it's very important to think about science for all. Science for all citizens of the world. It's very important. It's very important also to make sure that at a global level, there is some kind of science culture. You heard what happened with Ebola. Eh? There is a lack of science culture in many parts of the world. So that can be in the next 15, 20 years, how do you move at a global level? Government to understand that their citizens need basic scientific understanding of issue. I'm stopping here. Thank you.